So what I want to cover today is how to repoint your property with lime mortar. Lime mortar is 8 times more vapor permeable, more porous than stone or brick. So it will actively suck the moisture out of your stonework or brickwork and pass it back out to the atmosphere so it doesn't come inside. So what's lime? Lime comes from limestone out of the ground. This particular limestone comes from a quarry down in the Pyrenees, a quarry owned by Heidelberg Materials, a place called Sockley. And it's where I get the vast majority of my limes from. Why do I go there? Is because they're the only manufacturer in Europe that produce 4 different types of natural hydraulic lime. They produce an NHL2, which is a feeble lime for plaster, and then 2 3.5s, which is the mortar we're going to use today. One of those 3.5s is white, and one of those is an off-white colour. And the off-white colour is preferred by a lot of DIYers and contractors because it doesn't provide such a white in-your-face mortar. They also do an NHL5, which is a stronger lime, particularly if you're going to repoint any chimneys or exposed gable ends or for flaunching as well on chimneys. I've already started to prepare these walls, so before I start repointing, I've sprayed these walls with water to make sure there's no dust in there and to create that damp environment for the lime mortar to adhere to. I've pre-mixed the lime mortar, so the mortar, which is Ironstone mortar that I'm using today. Crikey. That's a 25 kilogram bag, and this one's Ironstone Old White, which is made with the off-white lime. We also do that if you're ambitious in a 1,000 kg bag. So a small bag will repoint you about 3 meters. A 1,000 kg bag will do you 100 to 120 square meters. So all you do is add water. So I've added water to that mortar, and I've created a consistency. Sits up really nicely on your trowel, and it's a consistency, I describe it like ice cream or toothpaste. So it just sits lovely on your trowel. I've let it sit in the bucket now for 15 to 20 minutes. The reason I do that is because we like the lime mortar to quench. What quenching means is the lime in the mix is soaking up the moisture, and then it becomes nice and fatty. And of course, anything that's fat is really easy to apply into those joints. So all we do is using a small hawk, get the mortar onto your hawk, and then use something called a tuck pointer. We do these in various sizes, so look at the size of your joints and make sure you've got tuck pointers to suit. And all you're simply doing is applying the mortar into the joints. If you're right-handed, I suggest you work from the right-hand side. If you're left-handed, work from the left, because you always want to be applying mortar to mortar that you've already applied. So you've got something to push against, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to push that into the joints. And then I'm pushing back on the mortar that I've already applied. So into the joint, and I push back on the mortar that I've already applied. Often with cement, you'll do the verticals first, often known as perps. But actually for lime mortar, you can either do the horizontals or verticals first, because we always finish it with a brush. So there's various ways to do your perpendicular joints. You can flick the mortar up onto your trowel, onto your tuck pointer, lift it to the vertical, and then pull back down onto the mortar that you've already applied. So we've put the mortar into the joints. Ideally, you now want to wait 2 or 3 hours before you then hit it quite firmly with what's called a churn brush or a bristle brush. What the churn brush does is actually when you hit it, you fill any voids, but also you bring the aggregate that's in the mortar to the surface. Most of our aggregates have 4mm down, so you've got some nice pieces of aggregate in there, which actually gives the lime mortar some strength, but aesthetically it also looks really nice. And when I say hit it, you are really hitting it quite firmly. And you'll see there already the aggregate being exposed. same on the brick as well. So the next part when you're pointing with lime mortar is to allow the mortar to cure. So the curing means you're getting that carbonation reaction between the lime and the sand and the water. We've got to help the lime mortar to do that. So in the summer you need to protect that lime mortar from the sun or dry wind. And the best way to do that is with some Hessian. So some wet Hessian, because that can reduce the temperature in front of the lime mortar by a few degrees and protect it, and just allow it then to cure. If you don't allow your lime mortar to cure, then it can stress, and when you get stressed lime mortar, then you start to get cracks, and that's the absolute last thing that you want. So all I've done, got some Hessian here, I've put it in a tub of water, I've put a couple of screws above the lime mortar work that we've already done today. So we're going to finish for the day by hanging the damp Hessian and then purely the next day when you come back to that, lift that Hessian up, give the lime mortar another really good brush, and then move on to your next section. And it's as straightforward as that and as speedy as that when you're working with lime mortar. But thank you for listening.